What up, though? What's popping? What's happening? Welcome to the latest and greatest edition of the Talking to Town Unfiltered podcast. Of course, you know me, Showtime, Mr. Talking to Town. Very special edition. I got the gang with me, plus one tonight. I'm gonna let the gang introduce themselves, and then I will go ahead and introduce the man, the myth, and the legend. To my what side is it? To that side. To this side of me, right here, is the one and only RG, Rich Girl Gang Gang. What's popping?
Gang, what's poppin', rich girl, bad girl with good intentions. I am so excited for tonight's show. So excited.
Absolutely. Good to see you, gang gang. You're looking good. You got your brown and black on and your bamboo
Mhm.
earring.
Try to
Was
do a
did,
little something. Try to
did you
do
wear your bamboo earrings in honor of our guest because he's like
I did.
an old school hip hop artist and
I
She
hip
got a
hop,
whole new hairdo in honor of our guest.
all of this.
everything is new.
I'm trying
Okay.
to remember the era.
Okay, cool. Is that a what is that? A Sergio Tacchini? Tacchini. I messed up. Thank you. Sergio Tacchini tracksuit. I'll take a bell. Thank you so much. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, cool. DJ Green here. DJ Green, what's popping?
You know me, man. The party don't stop. I'm honored to interview this legend right here.
Absolutely,
Childhood,
man.
you know all that.
And the man that is our guest today, the esteemed guest of the Talk of the Town Unfiltered. I don't know whether I should call him the man with the brother with the high top fade. Is he the tramp? Is he the low top fade? Okay. Well, Christopher Play Martin is here, ladies
In
and
the
gentlemen.
immortal words of Cheryl Salt James, I'm checking out the fellow with, I changed her words. I'll say she's checking out the fellow with the low top fade.
Right.
Yeah. But how are you guys doing?
Wonderful, good brother. Good to see
Good.
you here, man. Glad to have you here. Glad for you to be in the building with us. It's definitely an honor for us to be here with you and to be just sharing this particular platform with you. 'Cause you know, you're someone that we all grew up on, someone that we all have loved and admired from afar, man. So just kudos to you. You know, I'm a big fan of giving folks their roses while they're here. And I said this before the interview that I want to thank you for giving us just so many years of great music and great entertainment and just just quality content, man. And just brothers like you, man, and Kid, and what you all did for the culture and have continued to do for the culture is just so appreciated, man. So thank you for being here, good brother.
I thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm looking for my Geritol right now with all these all these references, pieces that would go in a time capsule and stuff.
but that's so dope though. Like it's so dope that as hip hop ages, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but as hip hop ages, we have folks like you who we can have these conversations with. And I tell anybody that comes on this show of your caliber, like I'm a nerd first. I'm a hip hop nerd and I'm a hip hop connoisseur first. So just sitting here talking to you, it's like 10-year-old me sitting here having a conversation with you, right? Because
the next thing we're going to do is get rid of that word fan and replace it with another F word, friend.
Friend.
absolutely.
That's what we will all be now. I've never been comfortable with calling people fans, especially when I know what the full word is, fanatic.
Right.
No, I really appreciate that. All jokes aside and seriously. And the pleasure's all mine. And I just like what you guys do for the culture in regards to sustaining it and perpetuating it. I always wanted to say that word and all of that. So thank you.
Good way to say it.
So let's talk about some things, man. I want to go back just a little bit. Of course, your history in hip hop has been well documented, and we all know that of course, Kid and Play, Salt and Pepper, Martin Lawrence all worked in that call center together. But I want to ask how
Sears, right?
Sears and Roebuck.
Sears and Roebuck. So how did you and Kid actually meet and decide that you all were going to start making music together?
We met because Kid had originally lived in the Bronx. I always lived in Queens, and I was, I was pretty well connected with, the ones in the hood, in the neighborhood. But the thing with Kid was Kid played basketball, and he played basketball in the daytime with a very good best friend of mine by the name of Jerome Doss. We called him Romeo. And we kind of had shifts with Rome because Rome played ball, but with me, we hung out at night and was about that life. So it was almost like, tag, you're it, or it was a shift with him because Kid would play ball with him in the daytime. I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't into that, but I would come to the park once the sun started coming down. And Kid, his father pretty much kept a pretty nice chain on him in regards to, had to be in at a certain time, didn't want him, messing up out there. So as time went on and I was kind of taking note because Kid stood out. He had like these really thick Coke bottle glasses for vision, big, huge afro. If you Google or whatever, you'll see pictures of it. Very much like the nerd, but he was a cool nerd though. He always had on the Sergio Valentes, the Jordache jeans, the Adidas, and the Le Tigre shirts or the Isaac Lacoste, however they're pronounced. All of that. So that made him stand out from the average nerd or geek. And to make a long story short, which is probably too late, we were part as hip hop, what would eventually be called hip hop, but as rap, began to be more popular. And I saw it as a way to get closer with the ladies or girls at that time, that we were part of two separate crews. And I could get in deep, but for the sake of time, the two crews, due to parents saying, okay, you're going to have to get a job, you're going to have to do something, you can't be here anymore, this rap thing or whatever you guys calling it ain't paying no bills. Right. And once the two crews kind of evaporated, Kid and I were the two left standing. And I had a lot, because I got kicked out of like 5 high schools, so I was out there in them streets and kind of saw.
What type of kid were you? Were you a bad kid? Were you doing a lot of
5 schools?
Bad things to be kicked out?
Yeah. I mean, put it to you this way: the kind of things I engaged in, I by all rights, I shouldn't be, by the world's definition, I shouldn't be here on this interview with you guys. But I went through my stages. I wanted to be the best I could be out there in them streets.
You think rap saved you?
God used hip hop to save my life, definitely. So Kid and I ended up having this group called Fresh Force, where we had some nice success in the tri-state area of New York, Jersey, and Philadelphia, and other areas. And I'm just doing all this editing stuff. I could get in deeper as you ask. When Herbie had his success, or was beginning to have his success with Salt N Pepa, a lot of the independent labels at that time wanted to know what his next act or group was. And it was us. We just had to reinvent ourselves, get rid of the name Fresh Force. It became Kid and Play, go to a new label. The label we were on when we were Fresh Force was Sutra, same label as the Fat Boys. But then when we got out of that contract and went over to Select Records with UTFO, The Real Roxanne, all of that, things really took off. But I could go deeper as you asked.
How old were you when you signed that deal?
I was always older than everybody. I'm bad with ages and years. I want to say I was in my late teens, entering into my early 20s.
You were still in high school?
Supposed to be. Yeah.
So did Herbie work in the call center also?
Yes, he did. Yeah, we all didn't work there at the same time. That's one of the creative licenses that if you refer to the Salt N Pepa bio movie, I was there first. That was when I was beginning to attempting to straighten out my life. And it was always, we all knew our parents were coming down on us hard in regards to getting jobs. So, part of a friendship is you give someone, a heads up or give them a lead. So I told Kid, hey, because I know his father was coming down on him hard, they're hiring at Sears. So he and I worked there at the same time together. Then came Herbie. Then came the girls, Cheryl and Sandy. Martin came much later. I wasn't there when Martin was there, and I wasn't there when Salt N Pepa was there, but we hung out after work together a lot. So yeah, that's how that was formed, the relationships.
One thing I think all 4 of us have in common is that all 4 of us have worked in a call center at some point in time. Archie, you worked in a call center before, right? Ticketmaster, right?
Yeah.
So, Play, I have to ask you, as a former call center employee, what type of employee were you in the call center? Were you the take all of the calls and top of the stats, or were you like me and being at the bottom of the stats?
Well, I put it this way: I got fired first.
Yes,
we all got fired.
Yes,
but I got fired.
Something
first.
else we all have in common. Great.
But the thing was that it was a telephone sale. We were telephone sales representatives where we would call to follow up on people who didn't get insurance for their machines, washing machine,
warranty,
refrigerator, warranty. So there was a lot of rejection in that, and you'd get these things called leads, a stack of leads.
Yes.
And if you knew that the boss was kind of Thomas Ranelli and Betty Kane, when you had a feeling that they weren't crazy about you and you was being set up, they would give you this stat called the dead leads. These leads were the leads that was like, you know,
They've been called a million
barely had a
times.
pulse, if any, or they were the type of customers you'd call that's going to hang up on you because they got tired of you calling them. But if you got the good stack, that was the ones that the potentials was pretty good. I did okay. I wouldn't say I was super bad, but the worst thing you do with a job like that is put telephones in front of teenagers.
Right. Absolutely.
So our personal calls was off the chain.
And they probably weren't monitoring calls back then, were they?
Yeah, well, Betty Kane would walk around and stand over you. And then she'd go take a break, a cigarette break. Beth would be gone for a while and whatever. But you just knew how to play it off. Excuse the pun.
Yeah, definitely. I remember those calls in the days. I sold accidental life and dismemberment insurance. So
exciting.
Yeah, Green, did you ever do that?
Yeah, as I am. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Play, was there ever a point? So let's go back a little bit. So you all are working in the call center. You get signed. Was there ever a point before you got signed that you thought about quitting? That you were just like, this ain't gonna work. This rap stuff is just, like my parents need me to get a job. Like, was there ever a point where you thought about quitting what you were pursuing?
The day that, or maybe the day before I actually did that, I don't know if I actually said it out loud, but I was working at Burger King at the time, and I did quit maybe the day or 2, 3 before, giving up, was ready to just, let whatever happen and get rich and die trying type thing. Is that I was Kid was coming with me to come pick up my check at Burger King. And we're walking along a very popular boulevard in East Elmhurst, Queens. Where we came up from, you had LaGuardia Airport, Shea Stadium, the World's Fair, all of that. Ella Fitzgerald lived where we lived. Malcolm X, Louis Armstrong, Tommy Agee of the Mets. It was very rich in celebrity. We're on our way walking to Burger King to go pick up my check. And it just so happened I saw an old childhood friend, well, really a schoolmate, junior, what was it, like intermediate school, younger than that. And I judged him. I saw him from afar. He didn't see me. I saw him lifting furniture. So I'm saying to the kid, yo, hold up. I wanted to slow down our pace because I saw him lifting furniture up into a building. So I'm judging him. I'm like, look at this guy. Look at him. He's a mover, a moving man. Look at me talking on my way to go get a check from Burger King. Right. So I misjudged the walk, the pace, thinking I could go past this building where I should have went across the thing, and I'm glad we didn't. He ended up coming down. So he's like, hey, Chris, what's going on? And, I heard you into the rapping thing. So I kind of told a lie. I said, yeah, but really 2-3 days prior to that, I'd given up in my heart. And he said, yeah, me and you remember Richard Ahee, his name was Lenny Brown. And Richard Ahee was another childhood friend or schoolmate. And them two had some money they wanted to invest in, which was a rap record, which was us becoming Fresh Force. But the interesting thing about it was the reason why we ended up having success, and this is what happens when you judge a book by its cover, he wasn't a moving man. He was helping his girl get into her apartment he was paying for. He was actually a manager at Avis Rent-A-Car. And he also just happened to have what you, I guess, call the graveyard shift on the #1 radio station in New York, WBLS, Lenny Brown. So he had connections with Mae James, who was running things at WBLS, to be able to get our record played if it was good, and it did. So that was the investors, that was the first record, that was how it all finally began 2 days after pretty much quitting, Kid and I.
Wow, that's crazy. So you get signed and you hook up with Herbie, and I've always wanted to know this because Herbie's sound was so cutting edge for that time, right? Yeah. Herbie experimented with different sounds. Even when you go back to like Push It, there was no records that sounded like Push It back then, right? And his sound was always kind of pushing the limits, even especially with y'all. Like he's experimenting with go-go and just all different sounds coming from go-go is like a regional sound. Like if you're not from DC at that time, you didn't even hear any go-go. And I don't remember if Herbie went to Howard or he just kind of had that. He was moving back and forth from DC to even know that. But was there a time when you were like skeptical about like trying out that new sound?
No, not at all. I got funny stories, but interesting funny stories behind both of those things you mentioned. I was there for the concept of the mental birth of Push It. Push It. We did a show that had Will Smith on there and Jeff, and I forgot who the artist was who did a record called Throw the D or Throw the P.
Two Live Crew.
Oh, is that what it was?
That
I
was
thought it was a
Luke, yep.
different artist. Okay, so we were unfamiliar. We was in the deep south with this show with the girls, and I'm there, and this record, they perform this record, and the crowd goes nuts. As New Yorkers, we've never seen anything like this before. And Herbie and I just thought, because Herbie and I were and still tight, we just thought it was like the most ridiculous thing we've ever saw, because I heard and watched. And Herbie got upset. He was like, yo, play watch. Watch when we get back to New York. I'm going to make one of these. I'm going to make one of these records. And that record was Push It. That's how that came about. As far as the go-go thing, we didn't go to Howard, but Lord knows we hung out at Howard a lot,
Right.
you know. And we saw places like the Black Hole. I forgot some of the other frequented go-go spots. We just saw this movement, this culture, this community, and that was the influence there. So those are the two things that influenced. And for us, you know, I didn't have to be sold on it because I was there to see the reaction of the crowd and the synergy that, you know, people like those sounds then.
So going into the recording process, because there was y'all had a lot of really dope artists around. It was y'all, it was Salt N Pepa, it was Kwame at one point, it was Dana Dane at one point, Sweet Tea at one point, absolutely. So what was that like? Like, was it like, would you compare it to, like, when I say all those names, I think of almost like a native tongue type of feel, where it's a family vibe, and you're vibing off of each other. Was it that type of environment, or was it everybody still just kind of recording individually and then coming and popping in each other's videos and stuff?
Well, yeah, back then what was very popular, the birth of crews. Everybody had crews, Boogie Down Production, you know, it was Mr. Magic and all of them.
Juice Crew.
Queen Juice Crew. Excuse me, all of that. So with us, you know, was fun. You know, I think what was going on that we weren't able to articulate was the fact that we were experiencing something or feeling a sense of something that we otherwise wouldn't have experienced. And to be getting on a tour bus, we didn't care where we was going. It meant everything to us, and to be successful and having fun doing it. So, you know, I can remember a lot of times where we'd all be at social events or whatever we were up to. There was just this sense, this atmosphere of just joy and gratitude, even in our arrogance, if the two could exist, but it did. But no, it was fun, and I was just glad because even as I was out there in them streets, a lot of things I wasn't proud of, a lot of stuff made me nervous. I couldn't live peacefully because I didn't know if that bang at the door was the police or things that I was engaged in. I had a lot of close calls. So to be involved in something where it wasn't that kind of anxiety or nervousness, and it's legal as far as I know, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think being that you were so successful, like, you know, of course, Play was known as the ladies' man, right, before he got on, and RG actually had a crush on Play that she, you know, would probably like to tell. I mean, this is...
Rich Girl is the one. I watched the opening. I was like, yo. Rich Girl is the one.
She's the one and the two.
Ready to become wealthy girl.
So RG, tell Play what it was like from a fan's perspective, because of course
he knows he was a ladies' man, so I'm sure he knew the ladies loved Play. We did, and the thing is, you still good. Like, you look good. Like, you got all your hair, you got all your teeth. Like, you look really good. You look like Play.
Well, he is.
He is Play, right?
It's God's grace and a little just for men. But with all that being said, in regards to,
do you use it just for men, for your beard, or just for your hair? Let's get into that.
Just for the hair,
okay.
Up top. It's, you know, and I'm kind of weaning off of it because it's like I've learned, believe it or not, to be becoming comfortable in my skin. I'm like wanting to live and enjoy the fruits of my labor. I'm living my bucket list now. Thank God it's not inspired by a negative doctor's report. But going back to the ladies' man thing, you know, that's nothing that I titled on myself. I just like women and girls a lot. So it's like,
so does Rich Girl.
So when the title came, it's interesting how I got the nickname, because the full name is Playboy. Kid's full name is the Kid Cool Out. But when you have close friends, and like, my name is Christopher, but when you feel close enough to me, at one time you just call me Chris. So they shortened it, Close Friends to Play, and it stuck. But if that's something that the writers and the directors and stuff wanted to poise and set it up with, I like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I don't claim to be an angel in it, but believe me, I never really took that whole ladies man thing seriously. Like, you know, I would never step up to somebody, oh, it cringes when I see other people do it or say it and go, don't you know who I am?
Oh my
man,
gosh.
it's like,
I was just talking to my wife about that last night. Actually, as we were watching your documentary, there's someone in your documentary who said that to me. Play.
Wow.
I'm not going to say who it was, but they were like, "Yeah, you know who I am." I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's what's up. That's so funny that you said that. Yeah. So let's talk about the movies, because House Party is a culturally just staple to all of us. I'm talking about something that has been passed on from our generation to the generations.
It still runs today. Like
it still runs. Like if it comes on, we're watching it. How did you and Play? I'm sorry, you and Kid get selected to play the part? Because I've heard stories about Will and Jeff possibly supposed to being in it, but how did the Hudlin brothers select you two?
They wanted us from pretty much day one. We would run into them at independent label social parties, Christmas holiday parties, whatever. There was a reason where I'm sure you guys know that there was a time where the independent labels ruled, especially in New York. And we would run into them there, and they would always, like, you know, pretty much say, yo, we got this movie, we would da-da-da-da. And my attitude, not being disrespectful or anything, was pretty much like, yeah, because it's like I never saw that in my future. I was still to this day trying to wrap my head around successful music that we had accomplished. But to do a movie, and the movies at that time, as great cult cinema as they've become, Wild Style, Beat Street, all of those, they still never really nailed it. We had our issues with Beat Street in regards to the casting a little bit. We had our issues with Crush Groove in a way with the casting there, kind of. So, because us in New York, we knew, and we these people, you know, so it was we didn't give too much leeway to creative license. But then there was a movie. I'm sorry.
You ever feel a failing? You thought that because they didn't have success, you wouldn't have success?
Well, yeah, that's what I was getting to, was the fact that there was a movie that not too many people remember or even know of called Tougher Than Leather. It was a Run DMC movie that didn't do well at all. So in my mind, it's like, okay, if Run DMC can't pull off a hit box office, who the heck is Kid and Play? So my thing is safe money. You know, we're making more money than we've ever seen on the road with our music and the whole nine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Cartoons, cereals, everything.
Well, no, not at that time. That didn't come till after the movies.
Okay.
You know, it was just records at that point.
The videos.
Right, exactly. So they kept giving us updates on how the script was coming along. The Hudlin brothers, shout out to Reggie and Warrington Hudlin. So then they finally had a meeting with New Line Cinema and told us about it. And New Line Cinema wanted us to come and just meet them. And it was the most awkward meeting in the world at that time, because you have these guys up on the 20-something floor, probably higher than that, all sitting on the same couch, maybe a couple of sitting on the arm of the couch, and they're yelling out impromptu themes for us to do. And we just felt so awkward, and it was just embarrassing.
Like what? Like
Kid, act like you're meeting Play for the first time.
Oh, okay.
Play, act like you work at Burger King and you're serving, just stuff like that. You know, just do impromptu. And it just felt so awkward and bad. But what ended up happening was it was lunchtime. They're right in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, and it was lunchtime. So one of the VPs, the VIPs, was like, you know, okay, let us walk you down, because it was over. So we go downstairs, but remember what I said, it's lunchtime. And all of the high schools had let out for lunchtime. And the minute we came outside, they attacked us like the Beatles because of the success of our music videos and our music. And that VIP saw all of that. He didn't even do lunch. He rushed right back upstairs and told them, we got to get these guys.
Yeah, they got to do it.
Yeah, but what happened with Will and Jeff was all Reggie and Warrington wanted us all along. New Line Cinema, which I ain't mad at them, they wanted to hedge their bets. They're like, yo, if we're going to do this, we want to make sure that we got as much stacked the deck for this thing to be a hit. And at that time, Will and Jeff was doing their thing. But what ended up happening was there was a hindrance with that because Will and Jeff did a record called Nightmare on My Street. They were being sued by New Line Cinema for their movie Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
So Jeff and them at the time was like, you got to be kidding. You're suing us. We're spending money to defend ourselves in court, and you want us to do a movie. So that kind of hindered that process. But Reggie and Warrington wanted us all along. And then when that thing happened with the kids, the high schools in the city, seeing us getting mobbed, it solidified the deal.
Was House Party their first movie? Reggie and Warrington, the Helen brothers?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, it's crazy to create like such a just monumental film at your first shot. Like you just go in and you just totally nail it. Like House Party is a perfect movie. Like there's nothing inside of House Party that I can say is, oh, this could be better, that could be better. It's just.
You know what? I saw on social media the making of House Party. It was like BET. It was showing you guys like talking to the host and showing like you weren't really even in a house. Like it was a set. Like that's crazy. Like, did you see that Showtime? Did you see?
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces. I think I saw the part where they were practicing the dance scene with Sydney and Shireen. Yeah.
It was
like,
interesting.
I really thought like it was a whole house with an upstairs and a kitchen and the front porch and the yard.
Yeah, that was some of it was a sound stage and some of it was a real house. There is a video on online where if you Google in the right words, we did visit the house during an anniversary one time for TV One, but the guy who owns that house, I believe, still owns it to this day, and there's a video of him, kind of giving a tour of that house. But yeah, it was that.
So the set mimicked the guy's real house.
Not necessarily, because you would get the outside of it, establish the outside, and maybe some rooms here and there. But I think as far as the living room and stuff was concerned, it's been so long ago, I'm not absolutely sure. They might have done that, RG, but I'm not sure.
See, RG isn't a real industry professional like you and me. She doesn't know how Hollywood works. She's not really familiar. She lives in a little small hick town. She's never been outside of.
Leave my girlfriend alone.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying she's not used to how just real industry stuff. I'm just kind of stringing her along, helping her get her local
She's ride or die. That's all right with me.
So I want to talk about.
Did you know Tisha Campbell before House Party?
No. I didn't know AJ or Tisha before then. I had, at that point, I came to Hollywood later. Kid and I stayed on the phone quite a bit because he went out there to oversee, or to be the eyes and ears for the group before I did, because at that time I had a clothing operation going and several barbershops. So I was staying in the neighborhood or managing or being on top of my business before it was absolutely time to go there. But he was telling me who got casted, how great they were. I knew AJ from seeing her and things, Tisha and stuff. But they, I always teased them about meeting them because when it was time to do a scene, they would, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, they would always go, well, before we do this scene, what would be our motivation? Would I just be coming from whatever? And
they
like,
real
shut up and
thespians.
just do the scene.
They real actors, right.
That kind of thing. But I get it, and that well respected.
Yeah. So you do House Party, and you have all of this success in the music industry and all of these things, and you decide to step away from hip hop. And during that period, I want to talk about this because during that period, there was a time when you contemplated suicide, right?
Right.
And, as some folks may know, some folks may not know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think it's important for us to talk about the dark place that you were in at that time and what you did to get you out of that. Like, I'm a huge proponent of mental health conversations amongst Black folks. So I don't want to miss this opportunity to talk to you about your struggles with mental health and how you got out of that place and what saved you.
Well, not to down the mental health thing, because that definitely is important and very prevalent in many people's lives, unfortunately. For me, it was just maybe like a coward's way out, so to speak, because a lot of stuff that I invested in, especially emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually, was believing that to be successful in the entertainment world was going to be fulfillment for me. Believing by having a actress wife, a very successful actress wife, to have the cars I'm driving, the home I'm driving, knowing who I know, eating dinner with, hanging out with, everything, the pinnacle of entertainment by the world standards. And the more I was getting and achieving was the more emptier I felt, which was like the Twilight Zone, because this is crazy. It's like I have everything that I could have possibly wanted and then some, far exceeding my imagination and expectations. And here I am pretty much getting to the point of being miserable and tormented, where you just don't want to do things as I like the way Kid puts it, you want to leave with the girl you came to the dance with. And at this point, it's not working for me. I'm being honest with myself and I'm wrestling with this. That type of mode or emotion and mood and just not really wanting to be as enthusiastic in those things anymore. Then now being a newlywed, married, now a child's on the way, but now here's the discussion and the intensity of a divorce. My passion and drive in the businesses I started aren't really there. Anytime the beeper went off, I dealt with heights of anxiety. So, excuse me, as everything came crashing down, I just didn't know what to do. And I really just wanted everything that was going on in my head, and maybe this is where the mental thing happens, wanted it to just come to a stop. Because for me, I just lost all interest in things. But the bottom line, one of the bottom lines in this thing, if there could be more than one, was the fact of going back to the fact of getting kicked out of 5 high schools, because I didn't know what to do. All I knew was this thing called acting and rapping, and that's not looking too good right now, because now the gangster rap is beginning to enter into the equation as well. So for me, it was just like an out, dealing with the embarrassment of a divorce, the heartbreak of a divorce. I don't
Were you
wish that.
depressed?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, and for me, one of the very tools I used for my street activities, which was a snub-nosed 38 revolver, was, the tool I was trying to work up the nerve for like about 3 days to pull the trigger for things to come to an end, so that the repeat the repeat of the video of all of the stuff going on would just come to an end. But that's when I got intimately introduced to my new agent at the time, lawyer, accountant, and manager, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And basically in some nice healing conversations, it's like, well, you did pretty good with your own strength, but why don't you give me a shot? So I thank God for a praying grandmother at the time, and then my father, who had turned his life around, because prior to that, and I kind of alluded to it a small bit in the beginning of this conversation, I don't like calling it an interview, was that my father was about that life. And my father was very successful. He was in that era of Nicky Bonds and all of that stuff in New York, and the places we went for barbecues and big barbecues amongst those people and stuff back in the days. That's what influenced me. When I was in school, and not junior high school, but whatever that is before that, we would have these things called assemblies, where I think it was once a month, Wednesday, you'd have to wear a white shirt with dark pants, either navy blue or black pants, and they'd have these guests come to the auditorium. You wouldn't have your normal classes that morning. You'd be in an auditorium with all the other classes, and these guests, bank presidents, professors, scientists, whatever. But when they're talking about their achievements and what it took to get there, I couldn't relate to that, because my home environment didn't picture what they were telling me. So with me watching Superfly and Across 110th Street and the Mac, and then seeing my father, his achievements, his materials, the car he drove, the jewelry he had, the stacks of money and rolls of rubber bands and all that, I'm like, well, this subliminally and subconsciously must be my destiny. But what ended up happening was my father ended up making the front page of 3 of the major New York newspapers, because he robbed a bank, and he was on the front page of that. And when the FBI, umpteenth time of them coming to our home in the wee hours of the morning, almost busting down our doors, that was an embarrassment to my mother. And I thought it was going to be an embarrassment to me too. But as I'm around in the neighborhood at the local candy stores, or all the stuff that, back then before there was a McDonald's or whatever like that, that I thought it was going to be embarrassing, but I would hear the people behind the counter whispering, saying, "You know whose father that is?" My father had a nickname called, his name was Skull or Scalp, because he's naturally bald. He doesn't have any hair anywhere on his body, way before Michael Jordan or any of that. So they would, "Oh, that's Skull's son." And they would give me free candy and free hamburgers and stuff. So I'm like, oh, if you get on the paper and people tell you you get this. So that was my warped way of putting things together,
Right.
and the making of a mess, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
And you were a
for me,
small child when that happened?
was I what?
You were a young child.
Oh,
when your dad-
yeah. Well, I was in my influential years. Let's just say, like 10, 12 years old, stuff
Okay.
like that. But going into my teens, definitely,
So was that moment where you were contemplating suicide? And tell me which came first. Did the Funhouse video where you were standing on the roof with the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the bad person or the devil on the other shoulder with I think Martin was one and Tommy Davidson was the other one, if I'm not mistaken, where you were on the ledge and you were thinking about jumping up?
Yeah, that one I directed that, but the concept was all mine. It was like, no, because all of this thing we're speaking about, this attempted suicide, that happened like after a lot of that stuff. That.
Yeah, it's just crazy, like hearing those stories and just kind of thinking about how far you've come. You know what I mean? Just from being at the top of the entertainment industry to not being fulfilled, and being in movies and being in TV shows and cartoons and serials. Because when we were growing up, Kid and Play was it. Like,
well, it's more common than people think, because a lot of us, I put it that way, believe that kind of success or this kind of success is the answer. And it's not. I like what a good friend of mine and a pastor of a Christian Cultural Center in New York, where the actual service took place for DMX, by the way, Dr. A.L. Bernard once shared with me. You can have success without God, but you can't enjoy it without him. So it's not like you can't. It's just that if he's not involved in it, or getting it the right way, it's kind of crazy. And you got choices to make. It's like, okay, you can just be kind of stubborn about it and say, oh, the reason why I'm not feeling good about this, I must need more. I must need more. I must need more. I must need more. Or you can go pause. And for me, it was like, I need to stop, hear more about this man my grandmother's talking about. At that time, my father had given his life over to the Lord, and all of that, and hear and understand, and and go back to school. I ended up going back to school in a very unorthodox way, but school was finally put in the mix.
Absolutely. Dope. So you go from being in front of the camera and being in stage plays, because you were doing some stage plays also at one point, to going.
You've done your homework. Go ahead.
I'm a nerd, man. I'm a radio guy. Like, I'm a nerd at heart, man. So
got you.
So you go behind the camera, and you had you started with Brand News. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Brand News. Brand News. Yes.
And I remember you from being in the Raleigh-Durham area when I first moved here. I'm not sure, what year did you move away? You moved away in what?
I'm bad with years and dates. I don't know. I want to say maybe like when I left, maybe like 2005, maybe. I'm not sure.
No, because you were here when I got here. You were in Durham when I got here. You were NCCU when I got here. I got here in 2010.
You say so.
Yeah.
Like I said,
yeah. You were here when I got here.
Or some of that stuff is a blur to me. You got to show me pictures and documents and stuff.
You were at NCCU. You and Kane were both in Raleigh-Durham when I got here, and I got here in 2010. So I think you left not too long after that. But I was saying all that to say you then go and get behind the camera. So I want to talk about your transition to going behind the camera and get into what your decision was for making And I Dance, which is the documentary that you have that's streaming right now. So what made you kind of switch gears a little bit?
Well, the first school I was accepted to in New York when I was supposed to go to high school was the High School of Art and Design. But I was actually accepted to 3 of the top art schools in New York: the High School of Art and Design, the High School of Music and Art, and the High School of Performing Arts. I was a self-taught artist, but at the same time, I started getting into lead and rhythm guitar. So it was this struggle. This is before Kid and Play on which way I want to go. I ended up choosing the High School of Art and Design. Got disenchanted and discouraged because when the junior high school I was going to, that was my identity. Everybody knew me for drawing. That was what I was known for. But no one warned me, and not like anybody was supposed to, that the high school I was going to go to was going to be a high school full of me and better. Yeah, so when I went there, you had like these Asian artists, forget about it, they were bananas. Others, it's like they just drew me under the table. But part of going there was I got introduced to, I think it was their photography, because you would do this thing called rotation where you would, for short periods of time within the year, experiment and experience different things in different multimedia of art. But I got kicked out of there because I learned the art of hooky or cutting school, and out there in them streets. But fast forward, when I really was concentrating on getting my life together through the help of a woman who really cared about me and saw how talented I was in it, got me into a college in New York called the School of Visual Arts. And they really had such elaborate things, especially as far as photography and stuff goes. But I couldn't afford it. That stuff was expensive. So now Kid and Play and stuff happens. But always in the back of my mind, and never left me to this day, what would have happened if I would have followed that path. And I'm just so grateful at the age of approaching 59 that I still can be able to find that out. But now being able to take the fruits of my labor and being able to invest in the things I couldn't afford at that time. So I've done other documentaries. You say Raleigh, Durham. I did a documentary I actually got an award for called Welcome to Durham. About the unfortunate situation with the gang presence in the Raleigh-Durham area. But I believe that anything that takes more, even less than that, but more than an hour in your life, you shouldn't be the same person before you started watching it and after you watched it. Even if it's just a little thing that you've learned or didn't know or whatever. It's cool if people say, Play, you did a great job and we love what you did. That's fine. But what really touches my soul and lets me know I did my thing is whatever I present in that format, to hear someone say, wow, I didn't know that. Then I know I've done my job. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in producing and to do. And just being in a place in life, I'm sorry, y'all, I have a bull mastiff. That's my roommate. And he just had major surgery. So every once in a while when I look over, I'm just looking to see how he's doing.
Tell the puppy we said what's up.
Yeah, this is new to him. But anyway, I'm sorry. So anyway, for me, I'm just so grateful that I'm able to have something in my life that's new and exciting. I'm a nerd. I'm a geek, hopefully a cool one, where I just enjoy learning about the latest cameras and lenses and technology and stuff in it. And being able to share that with audiences the way I guess a cook would enjoy a great soup or meal they make. Their joy is to hopefully share with others and that they'll be able to enjoy it too. I hope that answered your question. I can get a little lost.
Definitely. But I want to dive a little bit deeper into the documentary, but I want to talk about the Kid and Play dance first, because I want to kind of bring that into perspective, because, as I was researching and thinking about this article, it took me back to a time where I was having a conversation with my grandmother, right? And I think you guys might have been on Arsenio Hall or Rap City. It might have been something, but you all were doing the Kid and Play dance. And, we're excited. Like, I could never do the hop over the leg or anything like that. But, I did I get busy with it. You know what I mean? I do a little thing.
Do you really?
Ben Gay works wonders.
Once upon a time, I got a mean two-step now. Don't get it twisted now. I got a mean two-step. But I remember my grandmother saying, that ain't doing nothing with the mashed potato, right? And this was what, 1990. I remember, or the Charleston, right? I was thinking, like, what is the mashed potato? So who were some of the inspirations for Kid and Play as dancers?
The community in which we came from, in that time, a great time in New York City that some people refer to it as the golden age of hip hop.
Absolutely.
It was a community. It was, when you went to the Latin Quarter, Union Square, or the World, all these different clubs we would frequent and stuff, that was a given. It was to dance. You know, yeah, you had a crush on somebody and you'd hope you'd be able to connect with them, you know, in the night. But for the most part, it was like, yo, put on our joints and just have a good time. If not, watching your favorite dancer do their thing. One of our music videos, that was an idea I had that I pitched to Kid and everyone else. With Getting Funky, let's have that be an ode or a celebration and a party with all these other dancers that we hang out with, and give them their shine. So and I Danced, the documentary, that's it on steroids. But with all that being said is that it was all organic, all playing around, clowning around. How about this? How about you do this? You know, and of course you go home and you practice some stuff to be good at it. But for the most part, it was always like a group thing. But in regards to the kick step, that came out of desperation. Because when we were finally asked to be put on tour, the promoter, Ricky Walker, who was responsible for Fresh Fest and some other tours that he finally put us on, it was the Slammin' 88 tour, co-headlining Keith Sweat and Salt N Pepa. So what ended up happening was he wouldn't give us money to bring our dancers that people knew us to have in our music videos. So we knew that we had to incorporate dancing in our thing, especially doing the kick step and Do This My Way. But that pretty much came from a group we worked with called, I believe it was TLC. And the group members was Swatch, Little Bit, and Hi-Hat. Hi-Hat is
Missy's
responsible
choreographer.
for Missy Elliott, a lot of her work. But it was us all clowning around and, hey, can we do this and whatever. So it was a group effort, but that's how that came about. But you're absolutely right, and that's the reason in the beginning of the documentary why I have that vintage black and white footage in there to get the record straight that there's nothing new under the sun.
Did actually moonwalk in the beginning was the
yes, yeah.
I thought I saw the moonwalk. So you're showing that Michael Jackson didn't invent the moonwalk.
No, a matter of fact, the first person who actually did it on television was Jeffrey Daniels of Shalimar. He was the first one who did the moonwalk. Yeah. I believe it's on YouTube. You can find it, but it
was on Soul Train.
Yeah, I believe so, because it was one of those days shows where Don Cornelius, every once in a while he would feature the Lockers or other dancers and stuff. So it was one of those times when Jeffrey Daniels was the first one to do it, but way before him, like in the black and white footage, it was like 2 or 3 others who was doing that dance, and even the cartwheel spinning on the ground. Show that. All those flips and all of that kind of stuff that you saw the later group, the IBM dancers, doing. So with Kid and I, there's a poster that I designed that I have. I wish I knew it was, because I would have pulled it out and showed. It's a picture of Kid and I. This shoot took something to do. The photographer had to catch us suspended in midair doing that hop over the leg you referred to. We had to do so many takes of it for him to get it, but he finally got it. But what we did in the poster was we have a light shining on us to show our shadow on the wall. But the shadow on the wall is the form of 2 men in hi-hats, the Nicholas brothers. So that was our tribute to that era, showing that we didn't invent this, and salute to who did.
Yeah, definitely. And it was dope seeing the backstories. RG and I, we were talking about it yesterday. It's really dope to see the backstory of a lot of those dancers who, we've seen them. Like I personally was glad to see Josie, because I had a mean crush on Josie back.
Why did I know you were getting ready to say that?
Listen,
How did I know that?
I had a mean crush on Josie back. I was like, yo, we got Josie in here? Like, my wife's sitting right beside me. I'm trying to contain my excitement.
Right.
So
I was Flex. Like, I didn't know that Flex started as a backup dancer with Salt N Pepa. I had no clue.
He started before that. He was with a group called the Mop Tops, and again, where we all frequented the clubs and stuff. But yeah, that was Flex back then. Yeah.
Did you know him back then?
Yeah. Like we all knew each other. It was like we were regulars at the Latin Quarter, at Union Square. All of that, having fun before the shootout or the stick-ups began, because that was a part of the scene too. DJs would play a certain record that gave certain crews the go-ahead, make your move, and it was usually a Brooklyn record, like Brooklyn's in the house, or Go Brooklyn. Yeah, all of those. When those came on, if you didn't have connections or whatever, it was time to leave the club.
Yeah.
Make your exit.
Was there anyone that you didn't get to feature that you wanted to include in the movie?
There's some that I got that didn't get in this installment because this is actually the first of a 3-part series.
Okay.
So I have more that hadn't been seen yet. But yes, Shabadoo, we were supposed to get together, but schedules didn't allow. Don Campbell, that they refer to a lot, I believe the brainchild behind the lockers, he passed before I could get to him. Well, that's pretty much about it. There's some that you would consider the norms or the usual suspects, but it was really about getting those that people, like you said with Josie, they would say the girl with the braids,
Yes, sir.
you know, with her, or others, you know, this cute guy, that cute girl, and they would know their moves, know their style, but didn't know the names and the backstory, like you said, on how they got there.
Yeah.
I was surprised so many women are choreographers. Like so many women was like almost dominating the game back in the day.
Well, that's my sub message because, and I get into that in the future installments of when did you notice the change or when did you think it was time for you to stop once things started getting more graphic in music videos. So we do get into that, but it's my subliminal message for young ladies who are on the come up to see they didn't have to do anything to jeopardize their morals or what their parents instilled in them to get to be successful. Because back then, all of the girls wore the baggy outfits, the cross colors. Yeah, the cross colors, the Carl Kanai, all the big baggy jeans and all of that. It wasn't until the industry holiday parties until all of those girls, or most of them, finally put on their little black dress. And we'd be like, yo, where'd that come from? You know what I'm saying? They would surprise us, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of those dancers from back in the day have made such great names for themselves. Lorianne Gibson.
I was Jennifer. Lorianne Gibson. Like I just thought she started with Diddy. I had no idea.
Nah, Lorianne been around forever. Like she's been around forever. Yeah.
I knew her back when she was for a moment there. She was running things or helped running things with the Fly Girls on Living Color.
Oh, I didn't even know that. She choreographed the Fly Girls?
We were dating, she and I. And I remember I was eager for us to go to dinner or whatever we was getting ready to do, but she couldn't leave because we all stayed at the Oakwood Apartments. That's where a lot of people stayed at when they first came to Hollywood, unless you were going to choose to live there and really get situated. But I remember one night I was getting frustrated because I was ready for us to begin our evening, but she couldn't because she was waiting for someone to arrive, I believe by bus, so she could get her settled in before her auditions and being put on Living Color. That girl was Jennifer Lopez.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely an amazing journey. Watching the documentary, like I said, seeing so many of those faces that we didn't know their name, that we didn't know what their story. So just to give you those roses, man, for bringing that story to light, right? And just because there's so many untold stories in hip hop that we don't get to see, or we don't get to discuss, or we don't get to know about. So I think hearing about those dancers and seeing those dancers is just an awesome journey to watch.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and you and Kid, y'all always seem natural with your dance routines. How hard did you all have to work on your choreography? I'll take a bell. And was it easy, or was it like a lot of practice involved?
Not really, because we were always dancing, you know, like I said, that club life. It was just a matter of putting some kind of structure to it, you know, some coordination and things like that. But, you know, that's something we just knew what to do. Back then, Kid was famous for his spinning. The guy was always spinning. It was like, he could spin like all the time, but just putting a structure to it, some coordination, choreography, you know, but it's like these steps we would always do, but we do them where we were doing them at the party. Okay, let's do them side by side and together, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah. But back in the day, we were all dancing. That was the thing. If you were rapping, you had background dancing.
Well, you were a stripper back in the day, RG, so that doesn't really, it's not really the same type of dancing.
Hello.
It's not, that doesn't really count.
My dance may have been a little different, but we
were all
y'all ain't serious, right?
Blake, is a bean green? Could James Brown get down?
Don't get me stalking on some Google thing right now, please. Please.
Play.
I always wanted to ask you. I know y'all have done about 20,000 shows. Have you ever tripped or fallen doing a kick step or any dance on stage?
No. I mean, the thing with the most difficult one that was almost like a cross your fingers and say several prayers was the jumping over the legs. Because that we did do in our show then. Only one time I missed, but it was during a rehearsal in Jamaica. And we were doing it, and we were doing it on either a hardwood floor or concrete. And I missed, and I came crashing down on my kneecaps. And everybody was just shocked because you could hear the gas. And the one person who came and that I least expected, because we didn't get along very much then, but we're the best of friends today. My best buddy is Salt. Came to console me because my kneecap should have been ruined, but I survived. But that's the only thing that comes to mind. I'm sure there might have been, but I just know whenever it was time to do that jump over the leg, if you ain't feeling
You got
it,
nervous.
if you ain't feeling it, don't do it. Don't do it, because 9.99% you're probably gonna miss it. If you gotta feel it, you gotta be confident and bold. And it had a lot to do with what kind of sneakers you had on. It was the Nike Cortez, because those was easy to bend the toe when you're holding your foot to jump over. You do not do it with Adidas, any hard shell front thing, because you really need that bend with the foot as much as possible.
So sometimes you opted not to do it if you weren't feeling it.
Oh no, and neither one of us would get mad at each other, because it's better that you just play it off rather than do it. And how you going to recover from a hard fall? You know what I'm saying? And get back on beat. So at least if you don't do it, you can still keep up the next move that's supposed to be after that.
Yeah. Do you think that, because one thing about the documentary that I really love, like I think Scoob and Scrap are the best dancing duos in hip hop history, right?
Wait a minute now. No, I'm just kidding.
Dancers, not dancers and artists. I'm talking about
when you
throw them up against like Heavy D's boys.
I think they're way better than Kid and
No,
Play.
I'm not talking about artists. I'm talking
No.
about
I'm just
backup
and
dancers.
see, I totally agree with you. Like the ones I had to get, like there's another like Scoob and Scrap. You're definitely right. But MC Light's leg 1 and leg 2. Oh man. Incredible. Never, to me, underrated, and maybe not having the longevity, being out there as long as other dancers. It meant everything for me to get Heart and Soul. Everything. Bobby Brown's dancers.
Heart, Soul, get busy.
But and I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple of others, but no, you're absolutely right. I never once would ever put Kid and Play up, and this is just me speaking for me, I'm not speaking for Kid, but there's times where I definitely didn't want to get on after them. Another one who danced with, because Scrap was no longer with Kane,
right.
but it was Sean Bailey. Sean Bailey was with a two-man group that used to dance for Cool G Rap. Incredible.
Sean and Kenny.
Incredible. Yeah. So all of that was important. No, I know I cut you off, and I apologize, but
no, you're fine.
And that's the reason why I wanted to do this and did Getting Funky, because I wanted people to see the others. It was so important to me.
Yeah. And those are names that I just know instinctively, and that I grew up watching over the years. Like I always thought that Scoob and Scrap were better than Sean and Kenny, right? But there are some people who might have said that Sean and Kenny were better than Scoob and Scrap. But again, it's just dope to see that. So just giving you more flowers, like it's dope for the nerds to actually sit and be able to watch those things. How long did it take from start to finish for you to complete the doc? And was there anything that you had to kind of edit down in the process? I know you said there's 3 different volumes of it.
7 months?
I'm sorry.
I wish it was 7 months, over 7 years.
Oh, well, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, because everybody has grown up and all spread it out throughout the country. And again, giving props to my manager, agent, lawyer, and accountant, Jesus Christ. It just so happened when I was finally worked up the courage to start the project, I didn't know how I was going to get with any of these people, because nobody gave me a boatload of money to do this. This is all out of pocket, executive producer God. But it just so happens we were approached to go out for 2 weeks to about a month at the most to do the I Love the 90s tour.
Right.
That tour went on for over 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So with the help of 2 co-producers, Shane, Johnson, Bob, who was part of Mecca, Whitney Houston's group, she co-produced and helped me coordinate things with people over on the East Coast. Danielle Ortiz, who was talking about the Jody Watley story, she was my co-producer over on the West Coast. So we just coordinated by them knowing my touring schedule, where I was going to be. Oh, great, so-and-so lives there, or lives nearby. Let's see if we can get them. So that's why when you notice with most of the interviews in the controlled environment that it took place, they were all in my hotel suites. And then as far as the other groups, artists that I so appreciate their blessing, Genuine, Omarion, Belle Biv DeVoe, all great friends, great people, Danny Lee, Seven Streeter. I wanted the artists, recording artists, to give their input on how important dances were. But no, it took at times, very frustrating, tormenting 7 years plus to get this to you guys.
And not to mention at the same time, you're teaching and you're lecturing and you're traveling and kind of doing your thing to sustain yourself, just to bring us this body of work. So I just think it's really dope. RG, what are you going to say? You about to say something? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, well, I wanted to know what I was shocked to learn about you is that you did the Salt and Pepper logo.
Yeah.
And now you were designing Martin Lawrence's shirts on Def Jam.
Yeah, I did the logo, created the logo for Salt and Pepper, created their jackets, the Push It jackets, did the first season of Martin Lawrence's Def Jam comedy, and did stuff for his show Martin.
That's
if you
crazy.
see the hockey jersey he wears, it says SOHK. It was the early version of School of Hard Knocks that I designed. And partnered along with another person who helped me get it out there and took it to another level after I left it, Gerard Murray, Vons. But yeah, I did stuff for Heavy D, a lot of Heavy D's stuff, his logo for Peaceful Journey album. I did outfits and stuff for jackets and stuff for Michael Jordan. Quite a few people, of course, Kid and Play stuff and all of that. That was my way of still keeping that connection with the art side of me on steroids, so to speak, because not every day you get a chance to design something and put it on these particular people who loved what I did and supported me, but I had no idea that especially the Salt and Pepper jackets and their logo was going to have the kind of legacy and icon thing that it's become. All of that, yeah.
Did you do anything? Were you working with Dapper Dan?
Dapper Dan, my dude and my mentor, I still consider him. At the time when I designed those things, the Salt and Pepper stuff and the two hype leather and velour sweatshirts Kid and I wore in Getting Funky and stuff, I didn't have my store then. I didn't have my operation then. So I went to Dapper Dan to get them done there and kind of lived there for like 2.5 days, more like 2 days, to get them done because we needed those jackets and the logo. In the music video, Push It, right in front of Spinderella is the big logo. I hand painted that in my apartment at the time. That was hand done. So I had to get the jackets done on time and the mural done on time and get on a plane to make it right at the 11th hour for getting that music video shot.
Wow.
But with Dapper Dan back then, he was known, in all respect, for not very much being on time with your order. So I knew.
But he was open 24 hours. Like, how was not like he was 24 hours?
Because, I can relate to this. Even prior to that, I used to paint people's jeans. And you don't say no. You just take the orders and you're not really counting the cost of how much it takes to do it. And it just piles up. So you're just saying yes to everything. So for him, I had to stay there because I knew the trick by then in regards to other things that I knew how to do, is you just had to be there constantly in their eye view so that it would never be lost in the sauce or, get lost. So I pretty much stayed there, and it meant so much to me because he allowed me, he wouldn't let people be in the back. I actually saw the operation, the assembly line, how they cut the leather, how they picked the leather. All of that stuff was just, still to this day, brings chills to me for him to give me that kind of trust and embrace me. But I think what happened with Dapper was he was so impressed with, because he asked me like 2 or 3 times, who drew this? Who drew these? You drew these? And I'm like, yeah. And he would ask me again. And I just knew what I was doing or had a sense or a gut feeling of how to make it happen. And I think he really appreciated that, because all of the other clients he had before, with all due respect, is like, it didn't have that, I guess, that kind of imagination or whatever.
Do you still do that? Are you still into designing clothes? Are you doing it for anybody now?
Well, that along with other things in life, going back to somewhat the suicidal piece, I had to come to the realization that a lot of stuff I was doing, because I had an addiction then. And that addiction was approval addiction. It meant everything to me for people to like me or to be accepted. So when I went through that purging with God and that salvation, I had to recognize and confront things about myself in order for me to move forward. And that was one of them. So for me, when I did the operation of having Foreplay, the clothing store, Foreplay for Men, the barbershops and stuff that I had, that all of that was mostly for impressing people. It wasn't really from the heart. It wasn't really effortless. It became tormenting. So for me, some of that stuff, in order to do a process of elimination and just sift some things out and see what was me and what wasn't me, guess what my favorite food is? I don't indulge in it anymore, but guess what my favorite food is pretty much tells you how simple I pretty much am. You want to take a guess on what my
Hot
favorite
dogs.
food is?
Wings.
Regular fried rice.
Chicken wings.
Hot dogs.
Someone
nuggets.
came close. Franks and beans. That is my
that's
favorite
close.
food. Not any old
Really?
Franks. Not any old Franks. Not any old beans. It's got to be particular now. Not any old thing you can throw together. But that's just symbolic. I'm not into limousine drives. I make the limousine driver stop opening the door for me. I pretty much put them in a chokehold and make them join us inside to have a good time. That's just not me. I enjoy, I don't eat, I'm not a meat eater, but I can enjoy lobster and everything with the best of them. But for me, I had to realize who I was, and fall back and then let whatever is supposed to be. And it's interesting because even where the streaming platform that And I Danced is on, I did for the first time in a long time, did some designing. Those shirts and hoodies that are available, those I designed. And it felt good, but it's because I wanted to, not because I was doing it to impress
people, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's dope. So give us the website that the movie can be streamed on, and let us know where the streaming site, because there was some dope documentary, there was some dope stories up there on that site. I saw a documentary about Cold Chillin' that's supposed to be coming out with Fly Tie and all of those guys. So tell us about that site and where the movie can be streamed.
It's actually a streaming platform. And the backstory behind that is truly interesting because it's Streamwaves, STREAM, Waze, WAZ, Z as in zebra, E, streamwaves.com. And it's a new streaming platform that was created by Ron Lawrence. Ron Lawrence, otherwise known as Amin Ra in the industry, is one of Diddy's former hitmen. He was literally responsible for Biggie's Hypnotize, literally responsible for one of Jay-Z's most street credited joints, Where I'm From. He did Money, Power, and Respect with the Locks. So worked with Aretha Franklin. I mean, his plaques covers tall walls, and took the fruits of his labor and wanted to create a platform, a streaming platform for those who don't make it to a Netflix or a Hulu, but should. Maybe they didn't use the right camera or whatever those particular standards are. So I wanted my documentary, it's a gift. It's a gift to the dancers. It's a gift to the public. To me, gift and pay don't go in the same sentence. So that's why it's absolutely free. You can go to streamwaves with a Z.com, or you can get a direct in my bio and my Instagram, whatever you call it, account page is _playgrounds with a Z at the end. We have a big thing for Z's. So it's _playgrounds. That's my Instagram place. And go right in the bio and you'll click there. No strings attached. Takes you right to the movie, as I hope you guys experienced.
Yeah.
And that's what's up. And that's on purpose. That's by design.
Yeah. Dope. So things have drastically changed in hip hop since Kid and Play were at like the height of their careers, right? What do you think the future of dance is within the culture?
Kwame said something very interesting in the documentary, and it reminded me, is the fact that there was that era in particular really emphasized the fact that, the records was made for people to dance. I don't know if that's so much so now. I know there is some two-stepping going on and all of that, but the kind of dancing that models jubilation. I always wanted to say that word too. To it's quite evident that there's jumping around, there's excitement, there's energy and synergy. Not here to judge. It is what it is because music reflects and should art imitating life and somewhat being a report of what the atmosphere is in most communities or cities or states. But I know for us, it was so important that the majority of the album, the CD, had motivated and encouraged and inspired dancing.
You could be on the dance
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's necessarily so now. I'm not into it as much as one would think that I'm in because I'm into that geek thing. I'm always watching tutorials and reviews on gadgets and lenses and cameras and all of that stuff. But from what I see and I notice, it's a different energy. But I attribute that to the fact of it really just being a voice for the voiceless, which isn't too positive these days.
Right.
But it's reality.
I want to ask, would you do verses?
I don't know how we could because I know what the thing is with that. The blessing and the curse. The blessing is for Kid and I to have had the kind of success that we had and still continue to have because House Party is the gift that keeps on giving along with other things that are going on. I mean, I wish I had those with me. Heck, we just been made Funko Pop figurines and stuff. But with all that being said is, I think, we have maybe like a good 4 or 5 hits and stuff, but the others is like movies and more visual stuff. So, I don't know. And maybe they would do a thing where it wouldn't be just one-on-one anymore. Maybe bringing 2 verses together where the type of group we were with a certain amount of hits we had with others on that represents that era with others and maybe making that more like an actual house party thing.
Like a battle royal.
Yeah, that might be interesting.
Yeah.
But you never say no. You know what I'm saying? Never say no. I want to enjoy my life. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. Believe it or not, to really enjoy. I love to laugh without it being at someone else's expense. But I love to laugh. I love to have a good time as much as possible.
Yeah. So speaking of verses, I wanna throw this out, and I want to throw out a couple of questions for you. I like to do this thing called it's an informal verses. So I'm gonna give you some dancers, and I want you to tell me who you would go with in a dance battle. Are you ready, sir?
What's the 3 answers? Is that person, or no comment? Or...
No, it's one. You got no comment. You got to choose one or the other. First one.
I don't know if I'm committing to this, but go ahead.
I'm gonna make it easy on you. First one, we're gonna do a crew. The Jabberwockies, remember them, or Rocksteady Crew?
Well, I think I know a little something about Jabberwocky. Rocksteady Crew.
Rocksteady Crew. Okay. Okay. Usher versus Omarion.
Oh, wow.
Dancing only.
Yeah, I got you. I might have to give it to Omarion.
Omarion get busy. When he do that little
dance.
I might have to do that. Sorry, Ush.
What'd you say, RG?
That's a tough one.
Who do you think, RG?
It is.
Omarion, he do be, I don't know.
He can dance.
Omarion made a broom stand up without touching it. Like that alone. Like Usher ain't never did that.
But that's my other dude in the documentary. That's Shrimp Boogaloo.
It is. It definitely is. It definitely is.
Nothing new under the sun.
Let's see. This is a good one. I'm gonna say this one for last. I'm gonna do this one. Sierra versus Janet Jackson.
Sierra.
Ooh. All right. Last but not least, Chris Brown versus Michael Jackson.
Chris Brown.
Yes,
Oh.
I agree. Chris Brown is the greatest dancer this world has ever seen. And I'm gonna tell you this is why Chris Brown wins. He's so tall. Like Chris Brown is
more athletic. He's more athletic.
He's like 6'3", and like when you see him in person and he's doing those moves in person.
Are you saying Chris Brown over Michael?
All straight, yeah. That young boy.
Chris Brown's more athletic, but the way Michael moved, it's like a tie to me.
Green, everything can't be a tie, Green. You have to
the way Michael Jackson move is just different, man. But Chris Brown is amazing. That's what I'm saying. I can't pick with that.
Chris Brown has taken what Michael did and others, and with his own, thing to it, and taken it to another level, which any art form should be. You know what I'm saying? It's like just now we finished talking about Boogaloo Shrimp. and Omarion,
With the broom.
it's nothing new under the sun. Even with us with the kick step, it's a variation of the Charleston.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're looking at different eras, if you was to give me people like their era together, like someone with Chris Brown and him today, but you're taking two eras. And Chris
right.
Brown being influenced by Michael Jackson,
He's
like
able
any true artist would do, let me take this and put my signature to it. you know?
Right.
Yeah. Chris Brown, get busy. Well, thank you for that, sir. I think you gave all of the correct answers, which are answers that I would agree with. So that means you are.
I thought
okay.
you were gonna pit me against Kid.
Okay, well,
thought that was gonna be your last one.
now that you mention it, what do you? I'm not even asking. No. This is my question for real. Who won the battle in House Party, you or Kid?
You know what? Let's go there.
Let's go there. This is the question I've been wanting to ask. I'm glad you said that.
First of all, Kid wrote the battles, both are battles.
Okay.
Second of all, my character's supposed to lose.
Right.
Third of all, one of the things I did that wasn't asked of me to do, and a lot of people don't recognize it plays a very important part of it. If you watch the movie again, see my reaction as he's winning. I'm going above and beyond to show humiliation and embarrassment that from a visual thing, it emphasizes the loss. If I would have acted cocky or whatever and didn't give in to what the script said, I think it would have been more of a controversy or argument amongst people who speak it. But I, in my choices of acting, decided visually to even magnify that loss by my reaction in it.
So in actuality, you won because you helped him.
No. I mean, again, he wrote it so that I would lose, and I'm supposed to lose. I think my rhyme is dope. I think his rhyme is dope. Very clever. Kid is great at that stuff. So no, I give it that. But come on, it's a script. I'm supposed to lose.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and I listened to it last night. It's on Apple Music, and there are parts of the actual version of it that I believe aren't in the movie.
Anything you can do, I can do better.
Yep.
I can get a chorus. Yeah.
So
we couldn't do that in the movie because I forgot the name of the brothers. Gershwin.
The Gershwin brothers.
Erwin Gershwins. That's where that comes from. So we couldn't get the clearance for that.
Dope. Well, thank you for joining us, sir. We also have this one last segment. RG, are we doing this other segment? Are we doing Love Line?
No, we're not.
We're not doing Love Line. Okay.
Why not?
About the BET show that you're going to be doing.
Come again?
I wanted to know about the BET show.
Yeah, that was part of my bucket list. I had finally said out loud, I was just thinking about, because when Kid and I were doing our movies, I was approached for other movies to do, and I didn't want to do them because of the friendship and because of the loyalty to the group. But there was movies that y'all know of that I was approached to see the directors about, and I turned it down. But that always was another thing in my head, like, what if? So next thing I know, I did do I'm part of a series on Prime, Amazon Prime called Church Folks with Dorian Wilson from the Parkers. And Will Packard approached me about a recurring role on his series Bigger on BET and BET Plus. So I have a pretty nice ongoing recurring role.
That's dope.
Excuse me, on that series. I think the new season launched April 22nd. But I know it's going to come over to regular BET eventually. But that was interesting. I was looking forward to that, just to revisit acting in that scale. And come on, Will Packard, come on.
Right.
And Felicia, I don't want to butcher her last name, the showrunner and creator. But it was interesting, but I didn't factor in COVID. The budget they had for this, which was like for a major movie, they actually had COVID police. So it kind of killed the whole vibe of having friends come on the set, your management, being able to hang out with the other things. We had to stay separated. If you weren't working, go to your trailer, everything. And I'm thankful that they were. That thing went up my nose every other day for like two months. So all of that. So that was a different experience. But
did you get the vaccine?
No, not yet. I'm going to, though.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure they work it out. That's what I want to do before. I'm not interested in being a guinea pig.
Guinea pig, I did it. I ain't care.
Well, Green and I were the guinea-est of pigs. Play. We got that shot right in our arm. Bop, bop, bop. We haven't.
You got one shot or the two shots?
I got two. I told them to double.
So what was your reaction after the second one? Because I know I'm dealing with people now that are still. They had their second shot 4 or 5 days ago, and they're still dealing with some of the after effects of it that isn't too comfortable.
I didn't have
your second shot.
No,
I didn't have one after
effect. Up a little bit for like a day. That's it.
Young, healthy bucks. There you go.
I didn't have one after effect, but my immune system is already boosted because I take
Gas
station
oil.
Whoa. No, sir. I don't. No. I'm black seed oil and elderberry and things like that.
They take gasoline sex pills.
Play-Doh, we talk about. You laugh.
No, I don't. I just heard about it. I know how to speak for myself. I'm laughing at y'all, not with y'all. What about you, RG? Have you done the vaccine?
No, and I don't plan on it.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I'll just stay safe and masked up.
Well, RG's had a number of STDs in her life, so if those didn't kill her, then neither will.
Yo, what's up with y'all two?
She's had a number of STDs.
Son, my goodness.
If you can survive syphilis, you can survive COVID. Play. That's what I told RG.
You can't say that in front of Play. Oh my God, Play.
Hell no, we really.
I'm doing some Googling after this.
We was on our best behavior today.
We really were.
We cry each other all day normally. Everybody's like, no, this the God here. Like, nah, we can't act up.
Yeah, we want our best behavior. Play.
Hang in there, RG.
She's no saint. Trust and believe. Play. Trust and believe.
You know what he was reminding me of, RG? Back when we were little. When we were little boys and we didn't have the courage to let the little girl know that we have a crush on her.
Not at all.
We'd hit them and
not at all.
do all that kind of stuff. So
not at all.
I kind of think, there's some misguided, but he's married now. So
exactly.
This is way to
and RG's feet stink. Play. So that is just totally, it just would never work.
Now, how would you know that?
We've known each other for a very long time.
Evidently, for a very long time.
Her feet stink. I'm just saying. I'm, not to put you all in her personal business, but her feet stink.
Well, you failed on that, not to put me all in her personal business and stuff. Right. What's your shirt say? God is what?
God is dope.
That's what's up, son.
I wore this just because, as a fellow Christian, I wanted, to know that you had some cohesiveness away from these two heathens right here, just so you can know that we're both.
Well,
in this.
I'm loving the Frankenstein effect in my other man's place over there. He's got it's like Frankenstein is being created in the back with all those electrode things going on.
Let's take a look. Look, just look at that play. Just look at that.
Yeah. He's over there doing the most. I ain't never seen a party like that. He's doing the most.
And it's by himself. He's the only one at the party.
No, he's got a girl dancing in the background on the monitor in the back.
It's just him and her. And
it's a fly girl from 1995. It's running on loop. Just a continuous.
Man. Yeah, she has been doing the same moves since this whole thing began. God bless y'all.
Play. Thank you, man. We appreciate you coming in, man. This has been a dream. Good having this conversation with you, brother. Please let people know again how they can get the documentary and stream it. Let me blow you up just so you can make sure everybody knows how they can get this really, really dope joint.
Amen. Thank you. The documentary is And I Danced, and it is free and available to you on the new streaming platform network, Streamwaves. STREAM, stream, like a river streaming, Waze, WAZ, as in zebra, E. Or you can get to it through my platform on Instagram, which is _playgrounds, PLAYGROUNDZ, _playgrounds. Go into my bio and you can click and it's all yours. It's for free, no strings attached. And I want to thank you all very much for the support of Kid and I, everything we've been involved with, all of the cast and the cast members and everything with House Party, our music and everything, and the list goes on. Big shout out to Sharice Malachi and Takia and everybody who was responsible for making this happen. Thank you. And God bless you all greatly. And be careful and be safe.
Absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
if you ever wanted to get into doing podcasting play, we could possibly be replacing Rich Girl. So I might be looking for another co-host too.
Well, me and Play going to do our own podcast.
Now you're talking.
So we've been already discussing that way before.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, best of luck to y'all. Okay. Y'all have fun.
Kid Play and Rick Girl.
And RG.
I'm going on tour with them. The next
You could be the dancer.
right.
The back. All right, man. Play.
We'll do lunch. There you go. Thank you all.
Thank you, good brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
God bless.